Hi, Ginger. How are you?
I tell Sue all the time it's not pandering to say that you are still my favorite person to interview. I tell people they're in my like top five or they're one of my top people, but I still never tell anyone they're my favorite person to interview because it's still you.
I appreciate that, kiddo. I hope after this one, I still rank in that position.
I'm not. I don't think there's anything you can do to dissuade me from that. Well,
so,
I'm. Go
so
ahead.
what can I do for you? What can I do for you today?
Oh, I'm just excited to talk to you. You're so talented and you're so gracious to talk to. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, kiddo. I appreciate what a nice thing to say. Thank you very much.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, you're remaining in my top one. You're my top one still. Um, well, I see that congratulations are in order this week. You became a grandpa again.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That makes it number 17. I'm not 17. Number 7.
I was going to say number 17. Wow.
No, number 7. That's now I have 3 granddaughters and 4 grandsons.
Wow. So you're almost even. You need just one more to even out the score.
Well, that's up to my kids.
Yeah.
I don't try to force it one way or the other. Trust me.
Yeah, because you don't have to raise it. So you.
Exactly. Yes.
So as a little girl, Sadie Lee. I love that name. I'm from the South, so that sounds very appropriate in the South. Sadie Lee.
Sadie Lee, yes, and she's a cutie pie. I mean, her older sister is Scarlet Ray.
Oh my gosh, those are so cute.
Scarlet has been very, looked over. So my big concern was she going to be able to share attention now? But it looks like she's going to be fine.
Yeah, my first 2 kids were only 17 months apart, so I was afraid of the same thing because my son was still kind of used to being the center of attention, and all I did was let him introduce the baby to everyone. I would say, "You tell them about your baby sister," and then he still kind of got to be the center of attention, but the undertone was it really came to see the baby.
Yeah, but he was the proud owner.
Exactly. He was like the bodyguard. And he's 23 and he's still his 22-year-old sister's bodyguard.
Oh, well, good.
And
I think that's how it should be.
And he is also a huge John Schlitt fan. He has a ringtone to Hope That Saves the World. And I heard it I don't push my stuff on my kids, but they're exposed to it. And I heard that one day and I said, "Oh my gosh, son, I one of the proudest moments I've had of you." And he's like, he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Wasn't that John Schlitt on your ringtone?" He's like, "Yeah, I love that song." And I said, "Thank you. I love you."
You know what? I praise God for that because it means that I've been able to be part of his life. And that just excites me. Thank you.
What's really, really unique about it is because you seem like you're still in your 20s because of your energy and your vocal talent. But I grew up loving your music. So for my son to now love your music, I grew up on Petra and he's growing up on, as a teen. You were one of the only, besides Striper or something, the only rock that I could listen to freely, that was clean and acceptable, And so my son is like he looks for those avenues as well. He looks for rock music that he can listen to freely, that he doesn't have to worry about what kind of song it is and what it's about. And so he's a huge John Schlitt fan, and that song, that's one of my favorites of yours. It really is. It's such a great song.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that song too. I do it live. Whenever I do solo shows, or even when I go out with John Alfonte and myself, which is sort of it's an outreach type thing. So I do actually do some songs from my old band. Now I have the freedom to do that, but I always include that song. That song is just "Hope Saves the World," and "It Take Me Home" is another rocker off that album that can cover many bases. So I'm just very pleased that I was able to do that and that it works so well.
And then a friend of mine, Richard Blake, was writing and directing this movie and said, the one song that I really want to incorporate is "Run" by John Schlitt. And he's like, do you happen to know any of his people? And I said, I know his people, but I know the people. I know John. I was like, he is awesome. And that scene, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but they just released that clip of the part in their movie where they're playing "Run." And it's a real true story about a kid who gets injured playing football and decides to do cross country. And that one clip, it's like a Rocky moment where they tell him he can't do it, and then he gets this look on his face like he can, and then your song comes in, and then he runs.
Oh, right, excellent.
And like,
so glad. I love that song. Fantastic.
And it's literally this, teenage kid telling this particular teenage kid that, there's no way he can do cross country running. And then he looks up and smiles, and then your song starts, and he starts running, and your song is playing. And it's like, oh, I'm getting chills because my friend wrote and directed it's like one friend wrote and directed the movie and one friend singing on it. So I'm like, this is like the best clip of the movie, no matter what. Like,
oh, thank you, kiddo. I think I am very blessed. Well, you're just full of good news for me. Thanks so much.
Well, like I said, I haven't talked to you in a while too. So I'd already told Sue it was getting about time that I hit her up, and then I said, this is a great time. I have like a million things now to ask you and talk to you about. I saw that you have the Union of Sinners and Saints coming out on vinyl. I'm a big vinyl fan, and that's available for people to order. It's like available December 1st, so get that because I can't wait. I'm ordering mine because I'm a huge fan. I'm a purist, but I'm also just a huge fan of vinyl because I grew up on it.
Well, you know what? And apparently, I was given a lesson on how vinyl is actually a better quality sound than CD, and I never thought that digital could be beat. And then I realized, it was explained to me very directly, and I'm going, okay, it makes sense. I won't go into the technicality of it, but actually, a vinyl. If you take care of the vinyl, of the album,
right?
It actually gives you a bigger, wider sound, and I couldn't figure it out. But they basically let me know just how it worked. I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. So I'm excited, and on top of that, we've got we're putting on the medley, which is the only place you can get that medley. And I love that medley that we do. I think folks will, if nothing else, for that medley, it's worth getting. So I hope everyone that has an inkling of Christian rock will grab a hold of that because I think it's certainly worth it.
And I think it's a great Christmas present for both Petra and John Schlitt fans for sure. Like I think they'll be very happy with it.
I hope so. It's a quality product. I don't ever want to be part. If I was ever part of something that wasn't a quality product, I would make sure everyone do it because they trust me.
Yeah.
And at least I hope so. And if there's a trust in me, and it's like trusting my word, basically saying, hey, this is a good product, and it's a good Christian product that can be heard by anyone, including your secular friends that have no idea what Christian music's about. They'll still like this because it's very skillfully done, from the production to all the musicians on the songs, and then I try my best to keep up with them. So it works out real well.
And one of my also favorite songs is your Little Drummer Boy rendition. Like that if you guys haven't heard Little Drummer Boy by John Schlitt, you have to get that song because, it's so funny because even though you're singing a very much softer ballad type song, you can still you still hear that gravel, great John Schlitt sound like behind it. It's a little subdued, but you still get that great John Schlitt, like it's almost like gurgling rocks. I don't know how you do it, but
Well, I'm
but
gonna
it's
call that passion.
awesome.
Let's call that passion, okay? It's a way for me to bring across the depth that I think that boy, I haven't heard described that way, but it really does make sense. It just adds a texture. The texture it gives a little more depth in the singing texture of it. So I thank you for noticing. It just sort of happened as time went on. As I've been singing through the years, it developed and it seemed like a very useful sound. It became my sound, which is is very unique. I'm excited about being able to do that.
And without letting people know your actual age, when did you start singing like as an actual job? What year?
As a job, well, it all depends if you mean when I was in the first show I ever did was for a ladies ladies club when I was I think 12 or 13.
Oh my goodness!
That was the first paid job I ever got. I might have made like $10 or something like that, but that was way back. I mean, that was in the '60s. So, and then it just sort of ventured on from there. Then from there, I went on to. I was playing in clubs when I was 15 and my mom had to go and sit as a chaperone for us because that was the only place a rock band could play, and it was. That's all during high school, and then when I went to college, I took a year off to make sure I was going to graduate, and then I fell right back into music. Almost flunked out, so I had to leave music again for a while, and it's just been sort of off and on. But when I graduated, it became I thought it was going to be just a time for a while to venture out and sow my wild seeds, and then I would go into my field that I graduated as, and it just never disappeared. It's just always been part of my life, and I am so blessed because as they say, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, and that's really been my case. And even during the secular years, although that was that could have cost me my life.
Right.
But God had bigger plans. God had bigger plans and allowed me to live a beautiful life and be part of what I think is eternally important, and that's spreading the word. So it's been very cool.
And I think some people don't realize you were not. Some people know you weren't the original lead singer of Petra, and some people you've been doing it so long they assume you were the original. But would you start in the early '70s with Petra? When did you start with them?
No. I actually started in the mid '80s.
Oh, mid '80s. Okay.
Greg Bolts, who is an amazing singer, was part of the first 4 or 5 albums that they did. I guess the 4 that he was part of was Never Say Die, More Power to You, Not of This World, and Beat the System. And those were all amazing records. I personally think they should have all been gold or platinum, but they just weren't on a label. The label they were using at the time just wasn't big enough to
get the exposure
and get it out there enough for gold. So, but when I joined the band, we also had our next peak, and I think it just was the right timing and the right label, and just a momentum that really picked up, and I praise God for it. It was a wonderful time.
And don't think you can slip his name in there without saying, I just saw a picture of you two together. So there's something something coming down the pipeline that you probably can't talk about, but I saw you guys in a picture together recently.
With me and Greg?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, no, Greg and I are friends, but he's got his thing happening right now, and actually that involves Petra. So, or unofficially involves Petra. I don't have much to do with, but I'm glad that I can talk about it. I mean, the classic Petra, or that classic Petra idea, is going out, and Greg's featuring it, and it has Louis and Ronnie Cates of the Dream Team.
Wow.
Greg, John Lowry of the Dream Team, and the guitar player that was actually the first guitar player that went out live with Greg when he did his first solo record. Kurt, I can't think of it, but amazing guitar player, great guy. Actually, the son-in-law of the first pastor I was under here in Nashville. So, amazing team. I've heard some of the tracks. It's a real good record. It's actually classic songs from Petra, redone and sort of modernized with John Lowry's touch, and he's, like I said, an amazing producer. So it could be interesting. So I'm giving a little plug here for a new Petra sound a new Petra sound that's old. So I hope that it does well. I hope folks go out and listen to it and realize what an amazing singer Greg is.
Well, it would be just like you to do that. I talk about you, and you turn it to shine the light on somebody else. You're so awesome. Well, and you have the holidays are coming up, which, with all your grandkids and kids, I'm sure is a very crowded household and a lot of fun. But you have a Christmas album, as well as you're on a Christmas tour right here, and people can actually still book you for a Christmas date, correct?
Absolutely. I pray that they will. I'll have to say that now that I've got this Christmas album, which I am absolutely thrilled with, I couldn't be happier with it. The only time I get to tour this tour is, of course, during Christmas, and which means that this Christmas album never gets old. I only get to sing with it for like a month and a half every year, so it's still new to me, and I would love to be able to feature it in everyone's community, because it's a quality product, and I think the set is very seasonable, but very, very exciting. It's an exciting set that's absolutely geared for the season.
And I'll make a plug for you and let people know that they can go to Blankenship Booking, which is Cindy@JohnWSchlitt.com, or call 770-630-8556, and it's Cindy Blankenship, and she can tell you more about booking John for the holidays. And if you check out, just the Little Drummer Boy alone, but check any of these songs. I told someone last week, she's a Latina Christmas singer, a Latina singer, and she did a Spanish and English Christmas album, and it sounds like you want a salsa to it. It takes Christmas songs and they're jolly, but they're also spicy, And I said I'm honestly not a necessarily big fan of Christmas music, because it gets kind of thrown a lot at us in a very short period of time. So, you're like 24 hours a day Christmas music for 3 months. And so so if you're not necessarily a fan of Christmas music, this is definitely another album that I will play during Christmas time, because it's, regardless of it being necessarily a per se Christmas album, it's just good. The music is amazing. And obviously, for people who just like your voice, like me and about a million other people, it's amazing just to hear your song put to some of the great Christmas songs. What's your favorite time? What's your favorite part of this time of year with you and your family and your wife?
Oh, I love absolutely my favorite time of the year is between Thanksgiving and Christmas, including actually Thanksgiving and New Year's. This whole last part of almost all of December is just an exciting time for me. It's the one time where even the mainstream side of things will recognize that Christ existed,
Right.
If nothing else, just for capitalism. But
yeah.
it still is. It's God's time. It's Jesus' time, and I love it. I think it's absolutely the best time of year.
It's very hard for you probably are in a unique field where you can get accepted at times where people don't necessarily accept the Savior or accept Christianity, but they'll accept rock music, and that's kind of like Christmas. Like sometimes you can't get them to immediately speak about Christianity, but Christmas can be a time where you can use it as a time that they're not offended already, and it's Christmas tours. I'll give you another plug. Booking somebody like John Schlitt for a Christmas tour, you can invite your friends that like rock music, and his voice, even on a sweet song like Little Drummer Boy, it's going to be something that is very pleasing to rock fans. My 22-year-old who just turned literally 22 yesterday, her name's Amanda, and every year she wanted to go to Warp Tour because she's like got that rock. I don't even know how she even knows what they're saying. She likes everything from rock to screaming. And so for her, I'm very glad to have some people like you. And I see that, you're doing some things with Michael Sweet of Striper, which, is amazing. I think he's one of my favorite people too. He's a very cool guy and very, very nice. And, I think it's so awesome to have. I mean, for me, as my teens, I grew up in the 80s as a teen. So, like, that was Petra and Striper primo time, because the big hair, the big rock sound. So, for you to do anything with Michael Sweet, that's up my alley for sure.
Well, Michael and I did a tour in Brazil, and it was very unique because we both went with just acoustic guitars. So you got two of the main Christian rockers in the Christian history, especially in Brazil, were both pretty big there. And to go down and after not hearing us for years, going with an acoustic guitar, just that was strange. But to have Michael and I both together,
Yeah.
it was very unique. It's the first time it's ever happened. And we found out that we really enjoy each other. It was a lot of fun. Really like Mike. I think I can say that he's a good friend now. Well, before he was an acquaintance, but now I think he's a good friend. And we both talked about, man, we need to do this in the U.S. This is amazing. And if we ever find time, maybe we can try to do that if there's any interest. So, either acoustic or with a joint band that we can go and do that kind of stuff, and get the taste of Petra and Striper at the same time. Even I tell you what, Striper and Petra together would almost be too expensive for the
Right.
for the how to put it, too expensive for our popularity at this time. But Mike and I, with either acoustic or a joint band, totally makes sense, and it's affordable. So we're talking about that. It's funny you mentioned it because I got to talk with Mike a couple of days ago. So we're still hot on. He and Striper are recording their next album as we speak in Boston, I think, in that area. So they're certainly not laying down and saying goodbye. They're right in the middle of bringing out the next stage of Striper. So I'm happy for him. I think that's fantastic. But he never stops working. He's always looking for opportunities, and he loves the idea of him and I together. So
I know a guy named John that's always working too. He's always working. I wondered, like, you guys really are big. Oh, like in Europe and other areas. Like, is there a certain like country that you guys are like super? It's bigger than the States.
Oh my gosh! Right now, I'd say just about any other country besides the States. At least for me.
Yeah.
I go to different countries, and all of a sudden, there's big crowds. I go here, and it's just, I'm old hat right now to a lot of areas because the Christian music industry is so small. You know, there's just so much room for so many artists to be played on Christian radio, and it's getting narrow. You know, if you're not part of the 13 people the Christian radio is playing, you don't exist anymore. Although, praise God, I was around long enough that I'm not forgotten. There's just, if you don't have a song that's on the playlist, there's not a lot of interest in the mindset of a lot of the Christian bands, which is just something that I have to face and something that has to be remedied. I don't know exactly how yet, but I'm working on it. So,
well, the vinyl album is getting to come back, so you can never predict what's gonna come back. So I mean, and vinyl's huge. Collectors, and you know what's funny is I grew up in the 80s, and I became a huge fan of Sandy Patty. I'd love to hear her belt the notes, so I got to meet her recently, and I just flipped out. Like, I don't like flip out like that, in front of people, but I've been in radio long enough. The flipping out doesn't happen so much, but I had been a fan of hers for 30 years. So I did a little flipping out, and kind of like the first time I talked to you, I did a little flipping out mostly after I hung up. Then I was like, oh my gosh, oh my, but
Sandy is a sweetie pie.
Isn't she? Oh my goodness.
Never disappoint you as far as her graciousness.
Yeah, and she's the John Schlitt of that style of music. she's over gracious, and she just seems like when you're really the grateful one that she took the time, she acts like she's the grateful one that that you're even asking her anything. And during the 80s when you guys were on the rise, and so was she, I could juggle in two hands, what Christian music was out there, and everybody played them because there was just no one else to play. But now there is so many great bands, both labeled and independent, that it's odd that the selection is humongous that we can select from. There's great talent all over the world, but oddly enough, it's gotten narrower on what they play when we have a plethora to choose from, and my kids are constantly looking for people they don't play on the radio because they hear one song, over and over for even a month, and it's like, never mind, I need another style or different artist, and they're not going to hear it. So they have to go to satellite radio, or they have to download their own or get on Spotify. And it's kind of sad that we have a lot more to play, but we're playing probably as many artists as we played back in the 80s. The only 10 or 12 artists that was actually doing Christian music at the time, we played them all. And now, we have all this, selection, yet it's down to, you have to get, like, for us, we're our listener owned, so we can play anyone from indies to the populars. But, anything.
I think that's amazing. See, that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Where basically the stations dictated what they played. Now, most of the time, it's all incorporated, and, the key experts basically tell stations all over the country what they're going to play, and that's usually, it's a long. I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I'm glad that you all are gracious enough to think about playing my stuff still. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you for giving us some very amazing and a new twist on, Christmas music. You've got, for people who like a different style of voice and a different sound, I am in love with your Christmas album. And if you just go to johnwschlitt.com, you can find everything from his tour information to his music. And he is an incredible human being. This is not the first time I've talked to you, obviously, and you get sweeter and sweeter all the time. And I'm telling you, as long as you've been in the industry, normally this was like this. You're way past needing to be jaded, like, but it's like you're more gracious and more gracious every time, and don't ever lose that, because that's why you're my number one slot. Still, you're still my number one person.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I hope that I can be as Christ-like as possible. I think that's my goal. If I call myself a Christian artist, I better be a Christian.
There you go.
That's the best I can do.
Well, I'm so glad, and thank you for letting Run be a part of the Rocket movie, because I'm involved with that movie, and for you to have that song on there is just making it so special. And thank you for talking to me yet again. And I know I won't talk to you till after the holidays, so you have an incredibly blessed Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. So I will talk to you after the New Year. But
all right, and you too. You have a fantastic season, okay?
I will. Thank you, John, again for talking to us.
God bless you, kiddo.